the politically motivated decisions that were being made in the midst of what they were calling this, the greatest health epidemic of our time, I think exposed pretty deeply to a lot of people that it was really all just about power and how little they were concerned about things like freedom and civil liberties and the ability for us to make our own choices for ourselves. And then it just continued to escalate more and more with the Biden-Harris administration, in how they were undermining the rule of law, continuing to this day, and how willing they were to both directly and indirectly censor, blacklist, and smear everyday Americans across the country if you happen to challenge them, whether it be on COVID or it be on things like it. And this was, I think this was the thing that caused Mitt Romney to call me a treasonous liar, was saying, hey, there are U.S. funded, DOD funded biolabs in Ukraine that should be secured because there's a war going on over there. And the last thing we or the world needs is anything going on in those biolabs being unleashed in a way that could pose a threat to people. That was seen as...
but I should just say, you weren't guessing.
No.
You got that, or it was confirmed in any case, in a public exchange in the Senate between Marco Rubio of Florida, the sitting Republican senator, and Victoria Nuland, the Undersecretary of State, who volunteered it on camera.
Yes.
So...
And it was on the DOD website talking about their long history of funding these biolabs, not only in Ukraine, but in many other countries.
Of course, because
around the world.
Outside U.S. law. Right. So they can, and it's bioweapons research, obviously. But you were just, I don't even think you said that. You just said basically what the Undersecretary of State said in the Senate.
Right.
And then you have a creature like Mitt Romney calling you a traitor to your country.
He did.
So what do you think of him? Like, what is that? Why would he be so committed to a lie that he'd be willing to try to destroy your character?
He is part of that neocon, neolib establishment in Washington that poses a direct threat to our republic, to our democracy, and to our freedom. And that really is at the heart of why I chose to leave the Democratic Party. Seeing people, and yep, got it, he's a Republican, but he took the same position as Hillary Clinton and many other Democrats who don't care about our country. That's what it comes down to.
I agree.
They don't care about our country. I challenged Mitt Romney. I sent him a legal letter challenging him on his accusation for the very reason that we talked about. As a uniformed officer serving in the United States Army, his accusation as a U.S. senator is a crime punishable by death. So if you're going to make that accusation, as he did on what was then known as Twitter, you better freaking back it up.
Is it a little, if you take 3 steps back, it's like, obviously Mitt Romney is emotionally a child. He's very much a sub-genius. He's like not a genius. Let's just put it that way. And he's made hundreds of millions of dollars in our economy. Like, what does that tell you about our economy? Like, how could a guy like that get so unbelievably rich? Like, there's something systemically wrong, right?
Yeah. I mean, there's a whole, I think there's a huge, and I think this will be the topic of the next book that I'll write, is as we talk about the military industrial complex, there is a corporate industrial complex
for sure
that exists as well. I'm all about capitalism, but when you look at the monopolies of
that's not capitalism.
That's not capitalism at all. You look at how many small businesses are suffering in this country because of overregulation by government, and because they can't afford to pay millions, tens of millions of dollars to have lobbyists going and scratching the back of politicians so that they can create the loopholes that allow their business to thrive at the cost of the mass majority of the small businesses in our country, and the elimination of competitiveness, true competition, which is what capitalism is all about, true competition in our country. And that's how, when you look at people like Mitt Romney and you see how they have done so well, that's the reason why.
He's just so disgraceful. It's hard to believe he's real, but he is. So how did he respond when you said...
He didn't. His silence was
He didn't respond at all?
did not respond at all. Not to my lawyer, and not on Twitter, and not in any way, shape, or form, which it didn't surprise me.
It's so dishonorable.
It is. I am so grateful, and really truly feel like it is a privilege to be able to serve our country in uniform. April makes 21 years for me. I'm grateful to serve as a battalion commander currently, where I have the opportunity to work with incredible Americans who come from all over the country and who deeply love our country. It's not a small sacrifice to make, both for those who are serving as active duty service members as well as those who serve in the reserve component. There's a reason why we do it, and it stems from a deep love for our country. And to have a guy like that make such an accusation, yeah, it hits close to home, not only for me, but the real issue with that, and why I challenged him on it, is because when people like Mitt Romney make that kind of accusation, when people like Hillary Clinton call me a traitor and a Russian asset or a puppet of Putin, this is not about me. It's about the message that they're sending to every serviceman and woman in this country, and every American, that if you dare to challenge us, we will come at you.
It's always
all
the
we
least
have.
American people who make the claim that you're not American enough.
Yeah.
But do you ever think, so again, this is demonstrable if anyone who's made it to this point in the conversation can decide, do I agree or disagree with Tulsi Gabbard? That's fine. But I don't think any fair person could say you're in this for the money, or the accolades, just the opposite. You're continuing to get deployed and you're not making any money doing that. You're doing it anyway. It's quite a time commitment. Do you ever think like maybe politics is not the business for me because I believe what I believe, and I'm kind of never gonna sell it out? Maybe you're not transactional enough for this. No, I'm serious.
I have never thought of quote unquote politics as a career.
Yes.
At all, ever. And so the different times in my life where I have held public office, it's never been, well, this is what I'm going to do for the next few decades and then I'll retire. And it's why I have left at different times. I did not run for re-election when I was serving in the state house because I decided to volunteer and deploy to Iraq with my brothers and sisters in the Hawaii National Guard at the time. I did not run for Congress again in re-election in 2020 because I felt like I could, the climate of the House of Representatives had gotten to that point where I felt like I had maximized the impact that I could make there, and I could be of more influence at that time on the outside, kind of holding their feet to the fire, and being able to share exactly what I am now with the American people, the truth about what's going on in Washington, and the truth about these politicians who claim to care for you, but show through their actions that they don't, more and more brazenly. And this is really, you'd ask the question about what happened over the last 5 years, and
how has it changed
the change really, where there has been a change, it has come from a much deeper appreciation, frankly, of our Constitution and the role that our leaders must have in truly upholding the Constitution. It's obviously something I've sworn oath to twice in my life, and I care very deeply for. To see how those in power were so brazenly, and continue to so brazenly, abuse their power and weaponize, our law enforcement, the national security state, all of these different tools that are at their disposal, increasingly pushing us towards a place where our country is being led by a tyrannical government.
Yes. The problem with the Constitution,
it's a very real danger.
Oh, I agree.
That I frankly couldn't, 10 years ago, maybe even, less than that. I don't think I would have said that.